Well, good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk on WIN TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. And again, today we have a great lineup of guests. So thank you for joining us. We've got a lot we're going to talk about, so I'm hoping that you've got a whole hour to spend with us today. Our first segment is sponsored by the DC Board of Elections. Yes. We are in election season, voting season, and hopefully everyone that's watching this show has plans to participate. The Maryland primary was last week. DC primary is coming up on June 4th. And so that's what we're going to be talking about, the DC primary. So we have Sarah Wynn Graham, who is the director of communications representing the Board of Elections for the District of Columbia to remind DC residents to vote. We also are going to have Dr. Barbara Reynolds, who is an author, speaker, and history maker, who's going to talk about a new book that she just released, and it's quite interesting, and I look forward to talking to her about that. And then our third segment is with Prince George's County District 8 Councilman Edward Burroughs, along with Tracie, Jade, Jenkins, the executive director and co-founder of the Boris L. Henson Foundation. And they're going to be talking with our managing editor, Misha Green, closing out Mental Health Month. And finally, sadly, but finally, we will be bidding farewell to a fond farewell to our environmental reporter, Kayla Benjamin. She will be leaving us in a week, but we want to talk about all the contributions that she's made to help the Washington Informer to become a lead Black newspaper in this country that's dealing with the issue of environmental justice and environmental racism and sustainability. So I congratulate Kayla. We're going to talk to her about that this afternoon and what her plans are. And so we're looking forward to that conversation. I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of the most recent issue of the Washington Informer. I always like to show the print edition because everybody always asks, are you all still printing? I tell the story over and over every week. But yes, I like for people to know we are still printing a newspaper. We will continue to do so long as you continue to read us. And you know that if you didn't get a print copy, we are in about 600 locations throughout the DMV. You can pick up a digital copy by visiting us at our website at washingtoninformer.com. So please, I ask you to pick up a copy. When you go to the website, a little box is going to pop up and ask you if you want to subscribe and to receive the Washington Informer in your inbox, not only on Thursdays when the paper publishes, but we also have WIN Daily, which is a daily newsletter of the news that our reporters, write every single day to update our readers on what's happening in DC, in the DMV, sometimes nationally and sometimes around the world. We've got something to share with you when it comes to world coverage, and we'll talk about that a little later. So yeah, go ahead, sign up. We hope that you will. We need your support. We're going to talk more about that in the coming weeks, about a goal that we have that we hope that you will help us to reach, to make sure that we have the readers that are actually appreciating the news that we strive so hard to bring to you each and every day. I ask you to share today's broadcast on your social media platforms and follow us on Facebook, IG, X, TikTok, Threads, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, YouTube. It's like my daddy used to say, lottie-dottie and everybody. Every place that you are, we are, and we want to make sure that we can make it easier for you to share the content that we're producing with your community. We're all one big community. And so if you share all this content with your friends and family, it certainly does help us. So be sure to subscribe also to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. That's one word, no spaces, Washington Informer TV. We have a goal there. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers. I'm not sure where we are right now, Chevy, and that number is not big, but we're just a couple of people away. So you could be the one to carry us over the hump there, and we hope that you will consider to do that. So before we get started with our first segment, Sponsored by the DC Board of Elections, let's watch our weekly newscast brought to you by Curtis Knowles.
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The long-running Glen Burnie Carnival is no longer economically feasible and will be coming to an end. The century-old tradition, which has been held nearly every summer since 1908, has been canceled because of rising prices, according to organizers. When the Glen Burnie Carnival first started, the carousel was pulled by a mule, and the big attraction was a 10-cent ride in an automobile. Residents hope the cancellation is only a hiatus, with one Taylor Johnson saying, quote, "Hopefully things will get a little better financially. The carnival was always something we could look forward to." Maryland motorists will have to dig a little deeper after July 1st when they renew their vehicle registrations, as the cost of registering a passenger vehicle will increase 60 to 75% under new rates that will take effect on July 1st. The new fees, passed as part of a budget compromise between the House and Senate, include changes to weight classes of vehicles. Motor Vehicle Administrator Chrissy Nizer commented saying, quote, "As directed by state law, the MVA is required to adjust vehicle registration fees that will help provide critical revenue for the Transportation Trust Fund, which ensures all of the state's infrastructure is in a state of good repair." The new fees and a coming surcharge on electric and hybrid vehicles are part of an effort to close the $3 billion projected gap in highway and transit spending. The Justice Department filed a sweeping antitrust lawsuit against Ticketmaster and its parent company, Live Nation Entertainment, on Thursday, accusing them of running an illegal monopoly over live events in America, squelching competition, and driving up prices for fans. The lawsuit, filed in federal court in Manhattan, was being brought with 30 state and district attorney generals and seeks to break up the monopoly they say is squeezing out smaller promoters and hurting artists. Attorney General Merrick Garland commented saying, quote, "We allege that Live Nation relies on unlawful, anti-competitive conduct to exercise its monopolistic control over the live events industry in the U.S. at the cost of fans, artists, small promoters, and venue operators, and that this Live Nation Ticketmaster monopoly must be broken up."
All right. Thank you so very much, Curtis, for bringing us that broadcast. And, I have to say, and he keeps looking at me like I'm crazy, but we have a new member of the Washington Informer family. And maybe on our next broadcast, we'll bring him on the show. But we have DeMarco Rush, who is a graduate of Penn State University. And he is an intern with us this summer. We want to congratulate him. We welcome him to the Washington Informer family. He's riding shotgun with Chevry and Jaman, my brain, for the broadcast today. And we're just trying to do our part to make sure that we can extend the life of the Washington Informer by bringing on these as Misha calls them, these warriors, these dynamic journalists and people in the industry to learn and support what we're doing, but also to bring all of this great knowledge to us to help to perfect what we're doing. So we welcome DeMarco, and hopefully you all will get a chance to meet him in the coming weeks. So let's welcome our first guest, Sarah Wynn Graham, who's the Director of Communications at the DC Board of Elections.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing okay today. Thanks for having me.
I know that you are in the midst of craziness because fortunately people are knocking your door down to register and to get early voting done. Let's talk a little bit about, one, what you do there at the Board of Elections and also how things are going for this upcoming primary.
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Communications here at the DC Board of Elections. So I do press interviews, really communicate with the public. But I really want to talk a little bit about what our agency itself does. So we're a nonpartisan government agency, and we're responsible for the administration of elections, ballot access, and most importantly, voter registration and education here in the District of Columbia.
Well, one of the things as you are getting prepared for is this upcoming primary on June 4th. I know a lot goes into pulling all that together. It's not just, the day of, but, you all have sent out, I think, primary information,
right.
Kind of your own voter's guide. We did one as well, exactly. But the voter's guide, trying to get people know all the places where they can register to vote. So where are we at this point in the voting process in the District of Columbia?
So early voting starts on Sunday. So we are in the midst of it. Our early vote centers open on Sunday, the 26th, and they remain open until June the 2nd. Unfortunately, we'll be closed for Memorial Day, so don't make plans to vote that day. And we have 25 of them across the District of Columbia, and they're open from 8:30 in the morning until 7 p.m. And then we head into June 4th, which is primary election day, and we'll have 75 vote centers across the district, and those are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we're excited to welcome voters for election time. So
Yeah, and I guess we should be excited or happy in the District of Columbia because some people have already voted. You all sent out those ballots in the mail. People have turned them in already. Can you tell us? I mean, I know who you send them to, and then is there a point when it's too late to send that in?
Yeah, so our mail ballots started go to all registered voters, specifically affiliated voters, so voters that are registered with one of the three major parties. That would be Democratic, Republican, and DC statehood green. And those started mailing in April. And they continue to mail through this month. If you want to track the status of where your ballot may be, you can do that on our website at dcboe.org. If you don't get it in the mail by May 31st, you really should make a plan to vote in person on Election Day.
That's good to know. So if you did not receive a ballot in the mail, go to the plan to vote in person on June 4.
Yeah.
Now, suppose there's a question about your eligibility, whether you're registered or not. What happens? Because some people might think, well, I didn't get a ballot. Am I still registered? Do they still have my name?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I'd love, there's still time to get registered to vote. If you're not, I'll start there.
Okay.
And we do same day voter registration here in the District of Columbia. So you can go to any vote center and what you'll need to bring with you is proof of DC residence. So that can be an ID or a utility bill. If you want to check your voter registration status, you can always call our voter services team, which is their number is 202-727-2525, and they can verify your status.
Wonderful. And for those ballots that people mailed in and then they thought about it and said, I didn't mean to do that. They make a mistake on the ballot or they want to change their minds. Is it too late once they send it in?
No, we can, I voted ballots, if you make a mistake on your ballot, one that you've received at your house, you can call our voter services team. I'm going to give their number a lot.
Okay.
It's 202-727-2525. And they can reissue a ballot if you've made a mistake on it. Or maybe you think you've received the wrong ballot. You can also call them and they can investigate and reissue if they need to. I would make a note that if you've made a mistake on your mail ballot and it's after May 28th, you likely should just plan to vote, make a plan to vote in person. And if you're voting in person and you make a mistake on your ballot, our election workers are there to help you. They will cancel the ballot that you've made the mistake on and provide you with a new one. And you can use up to 3 ballots if you make any mistakes.
Wonderful. Now, I've noticed as you ride around the city, I've seen a couple myself. There are these voting boxes. Tell us about those. And is it secure to put a ballot in that box?
Of course, always it is. They're monitored. We put them in lighted locations so folks know where they are, but we call those mail ballot drop boxes. And you can return your voted ballot in the drop box. They're secured. And those opened on May the 10th. So people have already cast their ballots. You can actually go on our website, dcboe.org, and see how many we've received so far.
And are they located all over the city?
Yes, there's 55 of them across the district. So, for example, we have one right out in front of our offices down here at 1015 Half Street Southeast. I have one at my neighborhood library. They're all over. And you can check locations of that on our website at dcbue.org.
Well, Sarah, sometimes I kind of go off script, but there are a couple questions I did want to ask. And one was about the age. There was a time when the council was considering the eligibility of 16-year-olds to vote. But what is the voting age in the District of Columbia?
Voting age is 18, but you can, with the exception, you can register, or you can vote at the age of 17 if you'll be 18 by the general election.
Okay, and then for returning citizens, their eligibility.
So in the District of Columbia, even if you're an incarcerated person, you don't lose your eligibility to vote. We actually run a vote center at DC jails.
I think that is what was so amazing. I mean, just an aside, when we did a story, actually, it's been a couple of folks who've done stories on the ANC commissioners over at DC jail. Now, they would have only become an ANC commissioner because someone voted for them.
Yeah.
And so even their colleagues that are, housed there as well get a chance to make that voting choice. And so, I mean, again, DC's, I think, far ahead when it comes to that. So what about voting in your precinct? Once upon a time, you had to go specifically to one place to vote. Is it still that way?
It is not. We have switched to the vote center model. You'll hear me say that a lot, and you'll see it on our signs. And what that means for voters is they can vote at any of them. So maybe there's one on your way to work. Maybe there's one close to your, your church or your hair salon, or maybe it's the one right down the street at your neighborhood school. So we really encourage folks to go on our website and find the most convenient one for them.
Will they be asked, though, when they go in to vote? I mean, what ward do you live in? What is your precinct number? Will they have to know that, or will someone be able to look it up?
Yeah, we print ballots on demand,
Okay.
and they'll be tailored to a particular voter where they're registered to vote.
Okay.
The residential address.
All right. And then what about senior citizens? I mean, people who may not have voted by mail. They come to a voting location. Is there support for them?
Always. We really want to make voting accessible to all people. I can give you a couple of examples of some things we offer at vote centers. One, we have language resources. So if someone's needs assistance, they can ask for that at the vote center, or they can call our accessibility line. And that number is 202-727-5411. We also offer curbside voting. So if you're unable to enter a vote center for any reason, you can arrange to vote from your car. Obviously, mail-in ballots. Your ballot comes to your house. You can return it via USPS. You can drop it in one of our mail ballot drop boxes, or you can, bring it directly to the vote center during early voting or on election day. And then we also have something called accessible remote ballot marking system. And this is an electronic ballot marking system that allows voters with disabilities to vote privately and independently.
You just gave a number out, Sarah, and we missed it. I think it was 727.
Yeah, for our accessibility line. So if you have questions or need language resources or have that number is, I'll go slow, 202-727-5411. So 202-727-5411, and then 711 for TTY.
So just generally speaking, have you all noticed whether the number of registered voters in the District of Columbia has gone up, down, about the same? I'm just curious.
I don't know the answer to that question, actually.
Okay.
Thank you for asking, though. We do publish voter registration statistics on our website. And as you know, we do, or maybe you don't know, we do voter registration year round, not even in non-election years. So that number goes up and down depending upon as folks, new voters join the voter roll, or, folks leave the district.
So your voter guide, and of course, the Washington Informer just did one this week as well. So there are just the offices that we're voting for. Can you share what those positions are, and if there's anything else on the ballot, on this primary ballot, that folks need to look for?
Yeah, I'm happy to go over the what folks will see on their ballot. I'll first start that if you want to see a sample ballot, we have those on our website as well. That's dcboe.org. It's also, as I showed earlier, in our lovely voter guide. We have sample ballots in here as well. But what you'll see on your ballot, the offices include candidates for the presidential nominee for the DC Dem, the DC or the Democratic Party, and the DC Statehood Green. You will not see a Republican presidential nominee line. They held their own presidential primary in March. You will also see the delegate for the U.S. House of Representatives, an at-large member of the council, ward members for 2, or ward members of the council for 2, 4, 7, and 8. Our U.S. Senator, U.S. Representative, and the national and local party committee members for the D.C. Republican Committee.
Wonderful. And just to give a preview, because we've got to let people fully understand that this is the primary.
Yes.
Even though I say this is probably in the District of Columbia the most important election for us, but November is important as well. I mean, it is the national election. And tell us the date. And if you can share anything that's going to be on that ballot that folks need to start paying attention to right now.
Yeah, November the 5th is the general election. I gotta remember myself. So we don't know what will be on that ballot quite yet. That ballot, as I mentioned earlier about what the Board of Elections does, that ballot access process will happen days after the primary election. So we don't quite know yet.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's good. Well, I think, is there anything else that we need to let voters know about right now in order to make sure that we have a good turnout on June? You know, primaries are tough. You know, trying to get the turnout can be tough. But like I said, this is a very, very important election for district voters. So anything else you need to share with us that folks need to know?
Yeah, just a reminder that early voting does open on Sunday, May the 26th. So you have an opportunity to vote in person if that's the way you choose to vote. I personally like to vote in person. Denise, how are you planning on voting?
I always vote in person. I just like to. I like to get that sticker.
Okay.
And I also like to know which number I am at the precinct that I vote in. You know, oh, I'm number 25, and that's not bad since I vote early in the morning. But
well,
so
mail ballot
like
voters, folks that vote my mail ballot also get a I voted sticker.
I know
those are really important. At least in my house, they are. So, but early voting.
Sticker on the, how do they get the sticker? Is it on the ballot?
It's in the ballot.
Oh, shows I haven't opened mine yet, but that's because I'm going to go show up.
You're going to go vote in person. Yay. So yes, our vote centers, there are 25 of them. They open on Sunday and run through June the 2nd. They're open from 8:30 in the morning until 7 p.m. And then primary election day is the 4th of June. And there's 75 vote centers, and they're open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Make your plan to vote. Another thing, if you're mailing in your ballot, it needs, or dropping it off in one of our mail ballot drop boxes, they need to be either postmarked or dropped in the box by Election Day, which is June the 4th. And then they have to be received by us if you're mailing by June the 14th.
Wow. Well, Sarah, thank you so very much. Sarah Wynn Graham, Communications Director over the DC Board of Elections. This is great. We certainly do need this information, and we're great. You know, it's good to partner with you because we want people to stay engaged. This is an important election, and I think DC's done a great job at making it easy and accessible for all those who want to participate in the process. So I appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you. Hopefully we can join you again for the general.
Yes, that's going to happen. All righty.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Take care.
Bye.
All righty. Speaking of voting, our next guest is one who has been, she's a columnist, an author, history maker, public speaker. I know voting is on the top of her list, but we're going to talk about some other things that she's been involved in, and that is Dr. Barbara Reynolds. I'm so glad to have her on with us. Dr. Reynolds, how are you? Can we get you to unmute? There you go. There you go. Good.
Yes.
How are things?
It's great. It's great.
Good.
I'm 82 almost and I'm feeling fine. So, I am a happy person.
Wow. Hey, congratulations. You look great.
Thank you.
Sound great. And you
Thank
keep
you.
doing it. You keep doing it. That's what I like. Age is not a factor. And this is Older Americans Month. So I guess we're both in that group. So we could talk about, just how do we kind of continue to, sustain and stay engaged?
It has to be God because, I have gone through some illnesses and then I bounced back. And I know it wasn't just me. It had to be that God said, I'm not finished with you yet. We all have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're doing your purpose and as long as you have a God-centered life, you can go on. I have a friend, Ed Dwight, for example. He just went out in space, It's been talked about all over the place because they wouldn't let him. He was supposed to be the first Black astronaut, and they drummed him out of NASA. But 40 some years later, they let him go out in space.
Wow.
For a short trip. So we as seniors, we can. In fact, God says in your old age you can still bear fruit.
It's funny. A long time ago, I heard former Congressman Fauntleroy use the phrase, 70. And I never knew what that meant until I was close to it. And then I said, oh, that's what it is. So anyway, for those who don't know, I'm not going to tell you, look it up. But how did you get motivated to pursue a career in writing? Because I know you in ministry as well, but how did you decide to pursue writing?
Well, it was, I believe, a gift.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a young person in Columbus, Ohio, I would write and put my writings under the bed. And then I found out there was a Black newspaper, the Columbus Calling Post. And I went there and they allowed me to work there. And it was like, wow, this is something that excites me. And so, I got my degree in journalism, but when I wanted to go to journalism school, they said, I'm sorry, but we don't, colored girls don't be journalists. And I just said, well, I'm going to be a journalist, whatever it takes. And I ended up giving the commencement speech in 1996. I just have it. I feel good when I'm writing. This is why I've just released my new book called The Rise and Fall of the Techno Messiah. This one was because I wanted to. This one was because I had to. I was in my prayer time 7 years ago. I had just finished my book on Coretta Scott King. And the Lord said, the creation of robots is giving me pain. How dare scientists think that they can create humans and substitutes when I'm the only one can create life and death. And this really shook me. I heard God say in my spirit, once I was so pained by what humanity was doing, my tears flooded the universe and nobody was left but Noah. This just shook me up. And I said, but Lord, I don't know anything about technology. And he said, you can learn. So that's the difference between what I used to be and what I am now, is someone totally, committed to tell the world what God says, that the technology with God it's going to be a disaster.
So
Yes.
yeah, so that's what because I know as a writer and the tools that you use, right, even today involve technology. So you're not anti-technology, but
No.
what is it that you're saying about technology that we should take pause
Okay.
with?
What it is replacement of God and replacement of human beings. How did I find this? I did research. I went to Silicon Valley because I'm saying if I'm doing a book about technology, let me see what they think. And I ran into signs like Google is God because Google is everywhere. Google is all powerful. Therefore, Google is God. And I did a lot of research. I looked in at Japan and Germany, where robots are conducting services. They're doing mass, they're doing funerals. And I kept going, I kept going. And of course, I look at what is even happening today. Some preachers and pastors are using AI to write their sermons. But what really sparked me was Dr. Bernice King. I had written a Coretta book, so we're sort of friends. I told her I was just concerned about technology. She said, Barbara, don't you understand? My father tried to warn people. He said that technology without ethics will be evil, and we will end up with a Frankenstein existence. And then,
Mm,
at further research, and a couple of months ago, 50, is it 1500? No,
mhm,
I think
mhm.
it's 150. Scientists came out and said that artificial intelligence is so powerful, we can't say that we can control it because some of it is gone rogue. These were the best scientists. So I said, I'm going to have to, I'm going around DC other places having conversations, about technology, because some of it is very good, but some of it is harmful. Even
So let's talk about that though, Dr. Reynolds. I mean, so tell me, give me in your opinion, one thing that you think is good about technology, and then what we should be most fearful of.
okay, I think it's good, especially in medicine. People who are paraplegic, could not walk. There's certain brain uh, creations that will help them walk. But see, every time you say something is good, you look at the backside because now they're working on programming your brains. Musk is doing this, where you can get your brains programmed. And I'm saying, well, that's great. But if you you work for somebody in an office and they can program you, that's not good. So you have to look at both sides of it.
Hmm.
And right now, our people, are being, I call it pimped. And I hate to use such a vulgar word, but I don't know what else to call it. For example, there is a new digitally created model named Shrew. And I have to say it because it's not a person, but people treat it like that. Going all over the country modeling. And people say, isn't that nice? No, it's not nice because why are you creating a substitute Black woman when you could hire a Black woman yourself? But they
Oh
do
yeah,
it because they
yeah.
don't want to deal with diversity. And they did that with Levi. They came out with selling Levi's with a Black avatar. And I'm
So
saying, yeah,
so
hire Black people. Don't create, artificial Black people because you don't want to deal with us face to face. You don't want to pay us much. You don't want to, give us promotion. You go and create something. But we have to know that this is happening.
So you just released a book called The Rise and Fall of the Techno Messiah. I think we have a picture, at least I thought we had a picture of the cover.
Yes, that's
The
it.
Rise and Fall of the Techno Messiah, Technology and the End of Times. So, I mean, I want people to read the book. I don't want you to give it all, But, what would be the takeaway from this if folks were to read the book? And also tell us how we could get a copy of the book.
Okay, that is, I certainly want to tell you. What we first have to do is understand what's going on, because we cannot move unless we understand. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, this doesn't affect us. But I'm going to tell you another way. Facial identification systems, they do. The best example was last year, a woman who was 8 months pregnant. The police came to the door and they said, we're arresting you for bank robbing. No, store that was robbed. And she was pregnant. They took her to jail and she had to stay there all night till they found out that facial identification systems have a hard time dealing with our skin, with dark
Yes,
skin.
exactly.
So we won't know. For example, you can create fake people. That's nothing now. In fact, they did that to Biden. They had him saying "Don't vote," and
Right.
we Bishop Jakes. The scandals there. But you look at, is that really Bishop Jakes?
Yeah.
So we can't accept every piece of gossip. We can't accept it because the system can create. They can create a fake Denise Rolark Barnes. But
Well, I
they never do though.
hopefully
But
I could critique it or something. But the technology has gotten so far out here right now, and I appreciate the warning signs that you are trying to share with everybody. And fortunately, I think so many people are in this space where they're not real sure whether they should trust it or not. So we're still questioning. I think your book gives us more things to look at that we may not have even considered. So, but how can people get a copy of the
oh,
book? How can you order it?
easy. You can go to my email, which is
Okay.
Reynew, REYNEW 77 at gmail.com, or
Okay.
Amazon. But I'd rather you get it from me because I like to send out autographed copies.
Oh, nice. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. Good. And are you going to be speaking anywhere anytime soon? Doing any book signings or anything where
Well,
people
I
could
think,
actually come and?
yeah, I'm planning them, and I'm
Okay.
saying if you want me, because I go out in the public, and I'm surprised at the people who want to know more. They
Right.
really want to know more, and then I have ways to tell them what we can do about all this. We
Wow.
just have to make this should be a major human rights issue, and like voting, for example, because
Right.
even in the next election, we know that artificial intelligence will be a part of it because it was in the last one, but we have to know things in order to do things.
Dr. Reynolds, thank you so very much for being with us, for sharing the book, for sharing your energy and your time. We'll get you back on because as things are going to progress, and we certainly
Okay.
will want to know how you're feeling about this world that we are creating, or this being created for us.
I am so honored.
And so certainly want to talk to you some more about that.
Well, thank you so much.
All
I'm
right.
really honored to be on this station today. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Have a good one. All
Okay.
righty. Lot to think about, a whole lot to think about. And as we, in our industry, especially, technology has become more a part of what we've done, of what we do, but in a lot of industries. So, I mean, I think Dr. Reynolds raises some good questions. And of course, now there's this report about cell phones and mental health and young people. That's the negative part of technology. So I'm excited right now to turn this segment of the program over to the Washington Informer managing editor, Misha Green, who I think is going to carry that mental health conversation a little bit further. So, Misha, thank you for joining. I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Miss Denise. And I have really enjoyed all the information and all of the guests thus far. And so I'm just so thankful to hop on in and talk with the amazing Tracie Jade, Executive Director of the Boris Henson Foundation, and Prince George's County District 8 Councilmember Edward Burroughs III. They're here to talk to us about mental health, and particularly the Can We Talk Symposium themed Radical Attunement, happening just right around the corner, May 30th and 31st at the Gaylord National Harbor, and as well as initiatives in Prince George's County to address mental health, which is a whole lot because I know there's so much happening. But I thank you, Tracie Jade and Councilmember Burroughs III, for being with us today. Now, we talked that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but I know that you all are doing so much beyond that. Tracie Jade, first of all, thank you for being with us. Tell us a little bit about the Boris Henson Foundation and all you've done over the past 8 years.
Wow. Sure. So the Boris Henson Foundation was founded by Taraji P. Henson, which most folks should know, who's an actress and an advocate, producer, entrepreneur herself, who's actually from DC and PG County. And we started this to really look at how we could eradicate the stigma around mental health, right? So we know in the Black community, this has been a hush-hush taboo for so many years, and for very good reason. You know, we don't trust folk that we're talking to because sometimes we're demonized for talking about our issues or problems, or we're misdiagnosed. And so we stepped in, and especially during COVID, we were born into COVID almost, and we believed that we were purposed for that time. And so we, look to give free support, whether it is therapy or if folk need education around mental health, we provide those services for our community. And we are thankful that more people are talking about it now than ever before.
I've asked you this before, but with all of this, I'm not really sure when you're sleeping, which I know is a very key part of mental health.
Woo! If I can get that together.
Yes, no, but thank you. Thank you for all the work that you're out here doing. Now, before we even, again, get into the nitty-gritty of this Can We Talk Symposium, which is so important, Councilmember Burroughs, you've been out here in the community and working with the Boris Henson Foundation as well. And I know that this has been a passion of yours, talking about mental health from the young people on up. Tell us why mental health is important to your constituents and really to the DMV area in general. Now, I don't know. I thought Councilmember Burroughs was just in a cool pose at the time.
Yes.
Oh, he's back.
There
He's
he is.
back. Hello, Councilmember Burroughs. How are you doing? Maybe not. Maybe not.
We know that the council member is very busy,
Yeah.
doing the good work for his constituents. And I know he's had many different appearances and moments today. So we're thankful to have him. And I'm happy to pick up wherever you need me to, Misha, while he gets online.
No, that'd be great. I mean, it'd be really wonderful to talk a bit about the joy zones that you've implemented in District 8 that, we've had a little bit of info here in the Washington Informer about, but we'd love to learn a little bit more. So tell us about the District 8 joy zones and what they're all about.
Happy to.
Yes.
So we began our partnership with District 8 and Council Member Ed Burroughs, sort of looked at what the proposal was. And we went through the whole process, but we offered the opportunity to create these joy zones in District 8 where the constituents could actually come in to spaces that they're familiar with, right? So our umbrella program is called Meeting You Where You Are. And so we go to you with the services. It could be a community center, senior home, a church, rec centers. And so we've created these, what we call hangouts, because we also want to sort of move away from such clinical terms as therapy, group therapy. But it's an opportunity for folk to come and really get education around mental health. They can learn a little more about some of the symptoms, what to do if they do find that they have symptoms or family members are having some crisis, et cetera. So we, talk about things like substance abuse, addiction, sexual abuse, even domestic violence. So it's a gamut of information that we're giving to community members of District 8 in hoping that they, will take up our offer to give them free services once they learn a little bit more about what, mental health challenges might look like. So that's what we're doing.
That's so important. And Councilmember Burroughs, you are here with us now. Thank you so much for being with us today. Now I'm not sure we can hear you. So while we're figuring this out, I know you can hear us. I'm going to just catch you up. Tracie Jade was just telling us about the amazing joy zones that have been implemented in District 8. And while you're getting the audio together, when we circle back to you, I'd love to hear a little bit more about why your constituents in the DMV area in general can benefit from such initiatives. But it's time to talk about the Can We Talk Symposium, because I've been so anxious to hear all about it. Tell us a little bit about this annual Can We Talk event and why this year the theme is radical attunement.
Well, we know we've come out of COVID, but we know we haven't come out of COVID in terms of the impact that it's had on our community. And so radical attunement is, following the idea of belonging and connection. And because we've been isolated so much, that too has had a horrible impact on our mental health. And so bringing people together to exchange energy and conversations, community members can come and learn more about the different topics of mental health. We have several different panels with experts coming from all around the country to the National Harbor in District 8. As we know, Tracie P. Henson will be there. You're probably looking at your screen right now, Dr. Anita Phillips, who's from Baltimore area, Dr. Jade Barnett, Lamont Rucker. So it's a lot of different folk who are going to come together and not only learn and share around some of these issues, but also talk about our resilience and our joy. We have a joy joint that's going to happen at the end of the evening where we can actually, put our feet up, dance, have a good time, the same way we did when joy joints were first created back in the 30s and 40s. So we're excited to welcome folk to come on in. And as you know, Councilmember Ed Burroughs is a huge partner for this. He actually brought us in to do this in his district, along with BET, who is our sponsor as well.
Oh, that is so exciting. And again, what I love about the Boris Henson Foundation is that you guys know how to talk about serious issues and have fun at the same time. And again, sort of take out the stigma surrounding it, because these are important things and finding the joy surrounding it. But Councilmember Burroughs, you have known that about BLHF as well as about bringing that to your district in general. Why the Can We Talk Symposium in District 8? Why is that important? And why is addressing mental health for your constituents important in general? Councilmember Burroughs, I am so sorry. It is just the day that we cannot hear you. The technology is not going our way, but let me say you look good. And I love that the camera is clear, the placement is perfect, your office is immaculate. I wish we could hear what you were saying. And we're reading the lips. I know that you wish you could get to us as well.
Type in the chat, baby. I don't know. But I think we've covered a lot, council member. And, I've spoken to our partnership and how grateful we are for you to bring us in to do this great work, and including your constituents. We've given away 100 tickets to to the District 8 residents on behalf of Councilmember Burroughs. And he's also bringing students in from schools. 100 students are going to participate in some of our sessions. They did some great artwork that they'll be presenting because they've already been doing work in the schools. And so, we're celebrating all around this new partnership. We're celebrating the health of our community members. And we're not just talking about it, right? We're offering services, education, opportunities to get involved in your own healing. So we are excited and cannot wait until May 30th and 31st that is coming up. Can we talk?
Can we talk? We're taking it Mental Health Month, but I love that it goes right into the music of Can We Talk? But I want to sing in Black Music Month,
Yes.
But this area is so, I think, so really unique in that we have amazing folks from the DMV who can have these conversations nationwide and then come right back. And so we have Tracie Jade, who is from DC. We have Taraji P. Henson. You said, I saw Lamont Rucker on the list, Dr. Anita Phillips from Baltimore, Pastor Tony Lee. All of these people, Councilmember Burroughs, who we can hear now. Woo!
Yes. Three devices later.
3 devices later. It's so, but perfect transition, Councilmember Burroughs. I was talking about why this area, why the DMV, why is this a perfect hub to have such a symposium as Can We Talk?
The culmination of all of these different activities and all of the amazing work that the Boris L. Henson Foundation has done all across the country, it just makes sense for it to be right here in our hometown. This is where Tracie Jade is from. This is where Taraji is from. And we have a critical need here. So it means the world to the community that they have decided.
It was going so well.
We were right there. We were right there.
So we're going to have to do a follow-up, Misha.
We will. We certainly will. But just to wrap us up, tell us about some of the other things BLHF has coming up beyond Can We Talk?
Yes. We have some exciting things that are happening. We have something called wellness pods that we have erected on HBCU campuses as well. And that is an opportunity for folk to, again, meeting them where they are. They get free therapy, yoga, meditation, African dance, nutrition, all free. And that is supported by Kate Spade, New York. We have them at Alabama State University, Bennett College, Hampton University. I can't announce who's coming up next, but they're in our area. So we are excited about that. We are continuing to offer our free services around the country. We're actually extending into Africa. So we're extending our work from the nation to our homeland, right? Where we can also provide services, and so we can learn more about some of our natural practices that we just don't know about. So we're really excited about that. That's the big one coming up.
That's a huge one. Well, when you all need a local reporting team on the ground, you know to hit up the Washington Informer for that.
I know I'm going to get a call offline on this.
You know I'm going to be getting you up right after this.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Tracie Jade, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for all the work that the Boris L. Henson Foundation has been doing over the past 6 years and continuing to do. And again, bringing it back home, which we really appreciate here. And thank you to Councilmember Burroughs for being with us today. We're sad that we didn't get to hear a lot from you, but that means you have to promise to come back and talk to us, not only about the great work that's surrounding mental health, but all you're doing in District 8. Thank you so much. And always Go to WashingtonInformer.com to learn more about the Can We Talk Symposium, May 30th and 31st. And also the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation's website, which I believe we're going to, yep, there we go, right there for you all to check out. Without further ado, I'm turning it back over to our fearless publisher, Denise Rolark Barnes. Thank you, Tracie.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Misha. That was a great interview and quite inspiring as well. And looking forward to hearing more from the council member. Unfortunately, we did have our little technical problems, but that happens. Technology, that's what Dr. Reynolds just talked to us about, but we can perfect it. I am really excited right now to bring on our environmental reporter who will be leaving us in about a week or so. Is Kayla here? Kayla? Hey there.
I am. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh,
Very
God.
bittersweet to be on today.
I know. It's been 2 years. Can you believe it?
It's crazy. It feels like I just started. There's went by in a blink of an eye, it feels like.
Tell us, I want to share with the viewers, first of all, when we decided that we were going to do environmental coverage, it was because of some of the things that we were seeing happening in the DMV and just the stories that we'd heard and about, and thought it was time for us to really talk about environmental justice. One, to get the voice of the Black community engaged in this conversation, because a lot of times, we were left out. And when we interviewed you, you articulated that so clearly. You understood. But I'm curious about how you became so interested in the environment.
Yes, I think it started for me as far back as high school. And in high school, not really sure how I got pulled into this, but I got really involved for about a year in efforts to raise awareness and push policy against the mining of certain minerals in really terrible ways that were super exploitative of especially young kids and women in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And as I was sort of getting into that, I started to see more and more connections between the human rights side of things that I had been interested in before and the climate, environment, just interconnections everywhere. And I got really fascinated by this idea that we're all between all humans and the quote unquote more than human world, which is a term I learned recently and thought was really interesting. I got really just fascinated by this concept, and I started to learn more about environmental justice, and that meant a lot to me. So when I went to school, I took a lot of environmental policy courses, and it felt to me like our treatment of the environment and what it means for humans really was a problem we could start to tackle in ways that we weren't starting to do at all. And that frustrated me. So that's kind of how I just kept rolling with that. And there's so many incredible stories there too.
Before we go too far, though, I want to know, you said you just learned that phrase, more than human. Tell us what that means.
Well, it just, this idea that we seem to think that like we have like the human world and the natural world, but then someone was talking to me and she said like our interaction with the more than human world. And I love that idea because it implies that we are part of that. It is humans and everything else. And in the context I was learning about, it was about planting native plants in urban environments, and the idea that we have all these pests and we're all like angry that there are there's rats everywhere. But part of the problem is that we have eliminated all of the like structure of the ecosystem. So then it's like nothing is in balance and we just get like all these pests everywhere. And so the idea that we're part of this connected system that we have thrown out of balance is, I think, really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I think even when we talk about just the development that occurs in our urban areas, that's spreading, into sort of the less urban areas, and so you have forests and things that are being eliminated, and so the animals that are housed there, we see, we might see a deer walking up Martin Luther King Avenue. People are seeing foxes and huge turkeys in places that they never saw before, but their habitats have been um, erased. And so now they're trying to find new places to go, and they're now intermingling with us. Is that sort of, what you've observed as well?
Yes, I think that that is part of it, and also like the fact that we um, humans see ourselves as like separate when we're really, really not,
Mm-hmm.
and that separation we've tried to create, I think, hurts us just as much as it hurts some idealized idea of nature that we have. We live in the environment. This is where we have made our homes. We can't go anywhere else.
So the past 2 years, you have really had your nose to the ground, the soil, so to speak, covering stories that folks haven't even really thought much about in the DMV. I mean, and we're going to show some of the images that come from some of those stories you've done. But tell us, I mean, I know you've had to do this because you joined us from a program called Report for America. And I know you've had to give reports on some of the most impactful stories, but share with us what is, what maybe some of those most impactful stories that you feel you've been able to do since you've been here.
Yes, I do also want to give a shout out to Report for America. I think their model and the fact that I was able to be in a position to just cover a beat and stay on it was really, really amazing. I think it's just a very cool concept to be able to join a newsroom I might not otherwise be able to join and cover something that I care a lot about. But in terms of stories, I think have been really impactful. I had the chance while here to do some service journalism, and I felt like that has actually been some of the most impactful work I've gotten to do. So one of those is we did a pretty long guide to solar for homeowners that might be interested and what the different options are and what some of those terms meant. And I felt like that type of work really appealed to me because I got to help people sort through like a really complicated thing that directly impacts them in a way that people often think the environment doesn't directly impact them. And the same is true for a guide to protecting your household from lead and water, which I really, really enjoyed working on. And then additionally in June, when we had those terrible wildfire smoke days, I felt like being able to cover that and consistently explain, like, how can we protect ourselves? What does this mean for us? How is it connected to climate change, and why might we see more of this? Why does this impact environmental justice communities in particular? Being able to be on the ground while we watched this, like, unprecedented weather event unfold was really impactful as well.
You've done things that, I mean, others have covered, like the situation with people dumping tires in neighborhoods. You covered the park right here, Shepherd Park, and the what is it, the Woods? What's the name of the program? Ward Woods, right? And
Shout out
how
to
they've
them.
been
They
able,
rock.
and it's an amazing job that they've done over there to clean up that park. And then most recently, the story that folks can see in this week's Washington Informer is the story that you did on the neighborhood in Prince George's County with these challenges, with these people that were living, that became sort of a dump right in the middle of a community in a block. Talk to us about a couple of those stories.
Yes. So this is one of the stories I'm really excited about. I hope people pick up the paper and take a look or find it on WashingtonInformer.com because this story was almost like a classic example of what you would consider environmental racism in terms of just dumping in a community by a government that owns the land and the things that were being dumped. But the twist a little bit on that is that Capitol Heights, which is where this is happening, has almost all of its officials are Black, and more than 80% of the town is Black, and about 13% today is Latino. And these are the people who are being affected and the people who are making decisions. So it goes a little bit deeper than what we think of as like just, we don't, just white governments placing the same things, but it's still environmental racism, to be clear, because it's all about the structures that have led Capitol Heights to feel they don't have the money or the resources or the information to know that they can't just dump 1,500 used garbage cans in a neighborhood and just leave them. And I started asking questions, and pretty quickly, the government in Capitol Heights was like, so they had been working to clear out these garbage cans. They did not have the equipment and the resources to get them out quickly. But as soon as we started asking questions, the next door neighbor that had contacted us, reached out again and was like, oh yeah, within 2 weeks they were gone. So that was really exciting for me to be able to feel like we had a little bit of impact in that case. And people can look out next week for a follow-up story kind of looking at how Capitol Heights has communicated with both us, the informer, but more importantly with the residents that were impacted by this, and see how it wasn't just a problem of the dumping, it was also a problem of a failure of transparency.
You were very dogged in trying to continue that story. You ran into a lot of barriers and folks not wanting to talk to you, but you stuck with it, and I think it's been a great story. And I know that there's a follow-up that will be coming. As you kind of wrap up, your time with us, what's next for Kayla Benjamin?
What's next? One thing before I even answer that, I just want to take one step back and just talk about one other story that I think we had potentially had a direct impact, which was, anyone remembers back in November, we covered Kenilworth, a DMV test your car emissions self-service kiosk that was placed in a park, and it like the storage facility in Capitol Heights, this is somewhere that pretty clearly under the law just should not be there because it's a National Park Service site, only supposed to be for recreation. And neighbors said, hey, this isn't supposed to be there. And the informer said, hey, National Park Service, what's going on with this? And they never opened the site. And I learned about 3 weeks ago that they relatively quickly for them have taken it out already. So it's gone, and there is now an emissions test kiosk in Ward 8, which is awesome. And I'm hoping that they will bring one to Ward 7 that is not in a park. Anyway.
Fantastic, Kayla. That's fantastic. Let me ask you, do residents, now that they have seen your stories, do they reach out to you? How do you come across these stories? They've been great story ideas, and they've taken a lot of work.
So a lot of my favorite stories have come from residents reaching out to me. So the piece about Capitol Heights, someone read the story about the tires and reached out and said, hey, something similar of a similar type is going on where I am. Any interest? And the similar was true for the Kenilworth Park kiosk. I met that woman at a press conference for something else and was just chatting with her, and she said, yeah, there's this weird thing going on in my neighborhood. And just over time, you just start to talk to people, and there's way more stories out there than people even realize. And a lot of them have to do with the public policy choices we are making about the environment that other people live in, which is really not acceptable.
Well, I think you have, I mean, it's been very dynamic. We've certainly appreciated you for having you on our team so that we can make a difference in the communities that we serve. And clearly you've made a difference. So, you know, we really appreciate you for that. And we're going to try to keep that ball rolling as you transition. But have you, I mean, when it comes to environmental justice or environmental racism, or just the whole idea of sustainability, which I will commend you as well for leading our Earth Day issue that took place back in April. You certainly did do a lot to make that a success. But what do you see, or what would you tell residents based upon what you've covered that you know how they should respond if there is something that they're seeing that just doesn't make sense? You won't be with us, but I know, of course, you'd say reach out to the Washington Informer. But some people don't know it when it's happening. Some people just don't see it until
Yes,
there's the effects from it.
yes, and I think that is one of the sort of silent reasons why environmental stories and environmental injustices go so unaddressed for so long, because sometimes you have these really long lag periods. Recently, I was reading a academic article about how there are numerous studies showing that if there's an exposure to lead, whether that's in water or paint, like some kind of mass exposure, 20 years later, you can see these pretty stark rises in crime of like, okay, these were kids and now they're grown up, and like lead affects people. And well, here we are in 2024. And we had a huge crime wave last year, and DC had an incredibly terrible, worse than Flint, lead and water crisis between 2001 and 2004. And nobody was talking about this. And so I think it is hard to recognize in the moment. What I would tell residents, yes, reach out to the Washington Informer. Also, if there is something that you see day after day, whether it's illegal dumping, whether it's something weird in the ground or the soil, just reach out. Just reach out to, whether it's like 311, whether it's the folks at the DC and Office of Energy and Environment are actually really great. And it's worth asking a couple questions, I guess is what I would say. And it's not always anything terrible. Sometimes it's like, oh yes, that looks like that because of something totally benign, but it's worth asking a few questions.
Well, Kayla, thank you. Thank you for being here, for being the response to some of those questions that people have asked, to let people know, no, they're not crazy. It is something wrong. And we're going to help to fix it. We're going to become your partner in resolving some of these environmental justice issues. So again, I asked what's next for Kayla, but we're going to leave that, because that's Kayla's responsibility,
well,
or your thought you want to share, or?
I'll say what's next for me is I want to do more on environmental justice. I'm really interested in the connection between environment and helping people's daily lives, especially around transit equity, getting around without a car. I know that's like very controversial, but I had to get rid of my car because I couldn't afford it anymore. And my life got way better, which I did not expect at all. And yes, so that's the space I would like to move into, is direct advocacy on environmental justice and the connection between saving our species from our own emissions and like making sure that my grandkids could maybe like go outside sometimes and making people's lives better today and tomorrow. And I think there are a lot of ways where we can do both. That's the space I want to find myself in.
Well, you've
also,
done a
before I
good
let you go,
job.
I have to say
go
a
ahead.
huge thank you to the Washington Informer. I had experience here that I would never, ever in a million years been able to have anywhere else. And I feel like the Informer really took a chance on me, and the community really took a chance on me. And I'm immensely, immensely grateful.
So are we. Whew. Thank you.
I know, I'm not going to cry.
I know.
And I'm not going to disappear.
Wonderful.
Yes, I'm not going to
Wonderful.
disappear.
Because you are on your journey. You've taken some giant steps on your journey. And of course, you know, we're going to be the wind beneath your wings. We want to see great things happen for you. So you got one more
Thank you
story
so
coming,
much.
right?
Yep. Follow up to the Capitol Heights piece. Take a look.
Wonderful. Okay. Deadlines. That's what keeps us, you know, in another
keeps
space.
moving.
It's like, oh, I gotta do that. Right. Kayla, thank you so much. And again, on behalf of the whole Washington Informer team, hopefully our readers, we really appreciate all you've done. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for having me on. Have a great
All
rest of your
righty.
weekend and happy Memorial Day.
Thank you. Same to you. So yes, you all can tell that was a little bit difficult because here at the Informer, we never like to say goodbye. Sometimes we have to, but when we do, we're really, really happy when folks are considering, you know, the next stage of their lives. And so we certainly want to push them along, and we enjoy having them while we can. So we want to thank you. I got to say goodbye to you too. Oh my goodness. But anyway, thank you for watching us here on Let's Talk. We hope you found our discussions insightful and informative. We want to extend a special thanks to the DC Board of Elections for sponsoring our first segment. And thank you to Dr. Barbara Reynolds, Councilman Edward Burroughs, and Tracie Jade, Kayla Benjamin, and of course, our fearless managing editor, why am I having that? I'm so emotional. Our fearless managing editor, Misha Green, who abandoned me a few minutes ago because I wanted her to be on with us as we talk to Kayla, but she actually does some great shows herself. I really appreciate the content that Misha brings to the program. So after that, I guess that's all. I want you all to have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Please be safe. Take some time to enjoy family. Remember those who gave their life for our country, who have served. Please make sure you give a special prayer to them because of what they have given to us. Make sure to tune in next week for more engaging discussions as we enter Pride Month, Black Music Month, Juneteenth. It's a lot going on in the month of June. So we will be having all those conversations as well. And if you have any ideas or recommendations or thoughts about programs or individuals you'd like for us to follow up with, email us at news@washingtoninformer.com. Again, that's news@washingtoninformer.com. You see it down below. We want to hear from you. We will also want to hear your feedback about our program. So until we meet again, have a great 3-day weekend, and I will see you next week. This is Denise Rollard Barnes signing off.